Welcome to Seville and welcome to the Sail Training International Conference for 2018. First of all, I'd just like to say a word of thanks to Valery Velieski for the wonderful photographs that you've been watching whilst sitting and waiting for us to start. Those are all taken throughout the 3 Sail Training International events during 2018, and Valery travelled around all of them, sailing on ships various, putting up with various different conditions and so on and so forth. So to Valery, thank you very much for a wonderful slideshow there. As usual at these things, we kick off with a few housekeeping points. That falls to me. All important, so please do listen, and then we can get on with the real business of why we're here. First of all, if the fire alarm is sounded, hopefully you'll hear it, please exit the building. If you're down on this floor, which is the lower ground floor, then you'll be directed out through the car park exit, which is that way. I feel like I should be on an aeroplane at this point. If you're upstairs, you don't get that one on an aeroplane. Please exit by the main entrance, no matter what floor you're on. And thank you for the assistance from the stewardess at the back of the room, Alison. When you're outside, please check in with our registration team who will be outside, so do not wander off without being checked off to make sure that we know that everybody's safely out of the building. Following the plenary welcome reception, which follows this time in here, the reception will be hosted by the Tall Ships Races for 2019 and will be held on the first floor, 2 up from here, if you're counting. Tomorrow and Saturday, this will be changed into a breakout room for one of the sessions, as will Ronda, which is also on this floor. The other 3 rooms we'll be using are on the first floor. They are Nerja, Jerez, Nervión and Arcos. You'll also find the exhibition area, networking area and lunch on the first floor. To ensure sessions start on time, and we're not hanging around for all the late people, listen out for an announcement or the sounding of a bell about 10 minutes before the session is due to start, and make your way to the relevant session room, please. We'd very much like to hear your feedback and your thoughts on the conference. And unlike other years where it's been fill a form in at the end, we're doing it throughout. And in your programme, you will see a page that looks like that with instructions of how to do it. It's an online application, and you can just keep it open on your browser, and you just fill in each session, and you go. And then once you finish the conference at the end, press submit, and it's all done. So thank you very much for that. Apologies now, but we will be reminding you of that several times throughout the conference. If you do have any queries at all, this bit is not written by me, right? Please go to see the lovely ladies at the registration desk, who will do everything they can, apparently, to help. Okay, so they're there to help. We're all here to help from the STI team. So please have a great conference. And once again, on behalf of Sail Training International, welcome to Seville. And I would now like to introduce from the Seville Tourist Office, the Director for International Affairs, Santi Garcia de la Vega. Santi.
Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to have you all here. On behalf of the mayor, who finally, sadly, he couldn't join us this afternoon because we have a very tight agenda today, let me introduce you to Ana María de Lara. She is our Director of Foreign Affairs of the City of Seville, and I'm in charge of the International Promotional Department at the Seville Tourism Board. So, we invite you to get to know the city that has been chosen as destination #1 by the prestigious travel guide Lonely Planet in 2018, together with other international recognitions, such as being the best MICE destination in Spain and having the 2nd most spectacular and valued monument in the world, which is the Plaza de España, very close to the venue where we will have the gala dinner, the casino. Seville has an extensive history that has left an impressive artistic legacy. Among them, we could point out the 3 monuments which have been declared World Heritage by the UNESCO, which are the Cathedral, the Alcazar, and the Archive of the Indies, where all the documents related to the discovery of America are kept. Seville has also inspired many world-famous operas like Carmen, Don Giovanni, The Barber of Seville. Mozart would say that Seville was the ideal setting for an opera because it was a place where everything was possible. With a wide... you can guess. With a wide and varied cultural offer throughout the year, Seville is also the cradle of flamenco that has recently been declared an intangible cultural heritage by the UNESCO. Its gastronomy is also famous. You have, of course, heard about the famous tapas. Tapas, ladies and gentlemen, are a Seville creation. They were born in this city, so take advantage. Well, we all hope that you will have some fruitful working days in the SCI conference, and, well, we also recommend you to make the most of your stay here by enjoying the destination, the parks, the gardens, the monuments, the magic that it's everywhere in the city, our traditions, our way of life. And during your stay, please make sure you make yourselves at home. Seville is proud of its past, lives the present, and looks to the future. And let me tell you a story. 5 centuries ago, next year, a Portuguese sailor that may sound you, Fernando de Magallanes, Magellan, arrived in Seville with a dream. Seville welcomed his ambition. Here, his fleet was assembled and built, and from our port, he set sail, the expedition that achieved the first circumnavigation of the world. That feat revolutionized universal notions within Seville, allowed me to dream and hope for a new revolution in travel, exchange, and the traveler experiences, with Seville again as a protagonist. So from next year, we also invite you to come back to the city because we will start with all the events celebrating the 500 years anniversary of this circumnavigation of the world. And well, again, thank you very much for having made Seville your choice for your conference. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, Santi. Estamos muy felices de estar aquí en tu hermosa ciudad. Before I say anything else, I think we should just take a moment to mention 3 friends who are no longer with us. Christian Bickert and Keith Robinson both died on 11th of January this year on the same day. That was not a good day for sail training. Christian was a great champion of sail training in France and a friend of Sail Training International. It's thanks to him that Les Amis des Convoiliers, the Sail Training Association of France, is so well known and respected all over the world. He was vice president and representative on the International Council of Sail Training International. He was race chairman on several events, was a director of Tall Ships Races International, and served on many other STI boards and committees. And at last year's conference, he won the Lifetime Achievement Award for his long and dedicated work. Keith first went to sea on one of the STA schooners and thereafter became a leading member of STA. When STI was formed in 2003, he became company secretary and was largely responsible for setting up all our legal structures and for keeping us focused on our charitable mission. He was passionate about the power of sail training to help and develop young people. And next year, we'll be funding a voyage in his memory to bring together a mixed group from many different countries, which we've called Keith's Crew. Bert Rogers died on the 11th of August, only 61 years old. His early experience was on the Brigantine Romance with Arthur Kimberley. He stayed on board for several circumnavigations and became one of the many Romance alumni who now populate the world of sail training. He progressed to become captain of several ships, well-known ones including Harvey Gamage and Spirit of Massachusetts. In 2008, he became executive director of Tall Ships America, where among many other achievements, he steered through a congressional resolution recognizing TSA as the key organisation for ships and sail training. All three of them will be greatly missed. My main job today is to bring you up to date with our plans for the future. Since we last gathered, the trustees and others have been taking time to think about our longer-term strategy. There's a life cycle in the development of organisations. In the first few years, we inevitably become concerned with getting going, getting structures in place, paying the bills, and surviving till next year. The main focus up to now has been on running successful races and regattas and conferences. 15 years on, we have sound finances, a good business model, and good relationships with our many partners around the world. So this is a good time to think what else we can do to further our central mission, which we have defined thus. And that. To help us through this planning, we needed to think carefully about all those with whom and for whom we work. The list looks something like this. As you can see, it's quite complicated. Not all the stakeholder needs are mutually compatible. What's good for the ships isn't always best for the ports. What's good for the ports and the general public may not be the best for the trainees, etc., etc. Fortunately, STI is based in the UK, and as you must have noticed over the last couple of years, we Brits are especially good at negotiating complicated agreements with a wide range of competing interests. We've held a series of think tanks and consultation meetings with ports, the International Council, Ships Council, the Youth Council, our own staff and others to arrive at an agreed or almost agreed set of objectives. This inevitably doesn't include everything that everybody wanted, but we can't talk forever and we need to have a working document to move forward. Apparently Theresa May was overheard recently saying, "Brexit's difficult, but at least I don't have to negotiate a strategic plan for STI." From now on, the plan will be reviewed annually, refreshed, and pushed out one more year. So we always have a 5-year plan in place. We've settled on these primary objectives. So we have 5 primary objectives, and then these 3 essential enabling objectives without which we can't do anything. The plan is quite detailed, and I won't go through it line by line today, but I want to mention 1 or 2 key actions that flow from these main objectives. So, increasing the number of young people. We've built the Sail on Board brand. SOB is, we have a habit of picking unfortunate initials in this organisation. I don't know whether anybody's tried Googling STI, but you may have got rather unhelpful results unless you happen to be searching for sexually transmitted infections. Anyway, SOB has directed 24,000 inquiries to vessel websites since it was set up, and it's continuing to do that. On the partnerships with projects, the Canada Legacy Fund, using money from the Rendezvous 2017 contract, is aimed at project work targeting disadvantaged young Canadians. It also encourages sail training operators to work with land-based youth agencies that have maybe a longer-term relationship with young people. We hope that this will also be a model for future event contracts. We're holding a major review of safeguarding policies for our own staff and volunteers, and at the same time, the Youth Council is working with Murray Henstock, one of our trustees, to improve NSTO and vessel guidance and reporting systems. There are workshop sessions tomorrow and Saturday on this topic. We've earmarked £20,000 per annum for new original research. The first 3 projects have just been agreed. They will be reporting at next year's conference in Antwerp. One of our main objectives as part of our mission is trying to help improve international understanding and friendship. Last year's Msit Nok Mak All My Relations voyage out of Canada with young people from the First Nations of North America showed the potential for using sail training as a vehicle for reconciliation and highlighting historic injustices. We hope to fund more of those ideas soon. We will be talking, my colleague Ross MacDonald will be talking much more about the event strategy, the strategy for the races and other events shortly. These events will always be our biggest, most high profile and financially helpful projects. And we need to remember that. This year, for the first time, we held a successful regatta in the Northwest Pacific to coincide with the Eastern Economic Forum. This is helping to build interest in sail training in Korea and China and to support its revival in Japan. We'll be looking for similar opportunities in the next few years. These are the actions for the enabling objectives. So these are not our sort of primary focus, but without doing these enabling actions, we can't survive and pursue our main mission. We rely on volunteers in the events team and our national membership organisations to deliver much of our work. We're thinking about what else can we do to help them and make them more effective. The races are where we started, and they're still the biggest thing we do by a long way. We now need to develop our mission-related work. We'll be recruiting new trustees soon. We have some vacancies on the board, and we will be posting on the website the specifications for the types of people we want, the skills we're looking for, and how we want to widen the diversity of the board. So, next steps. As I said before, we've been talking about this for over a year. So we want to settle our main objectives and actions for the charity to get on with implementing them. This is now a live document which we'll review and adjust every year as we test it. Every year we'll push it out 1 year further so we always have an up-to-date 5-year plan for the charity. Our subsidiary company, Tall Ships Races International, is doing further work on the detail of the event strategy, which is part of the overall strategy. And there were planning meetings here today with the Ships Council and the Youth Council to develop that. Before I hand over, can I just introduce the 2 boards that are centrally involved with STI? First, the trustees of the charity. Could I ask the trustees to stand up and show yourselves? I don't know why you're clapping. They haven't done anything yet. And could I now have the directors of TSRIL to stand up, please? So those are the directors of the company, the subsidiary that's running the events and at the moment developing the specific strategy for events. So if you've got any complaints, don't come to me, go to them. Ross MacDonald, who chairs that company, will now give you a fuller account of our plans for future events. Ross.
Well, welcome to our annual conference. As I was thinking about what I might say, I thought about all of us in the room here, and one thing we all share is a very strong connection with the sea. Amongst other things, the sea provides the environment for sail training, in which young people take part in an adventure that helps them grow as individuals, to be better prepared for the life challenges and opportunities that lie ahead of them. The tall ship races and regattas allow people from many different countries and cultures to join together in a spirit of international friendship and to gain the benefits of that sail training experience. In the next 20 minutes, I want to describe briefly some of the highlights of the tall ships races and regattas. Specifically, what have we been doing this last year? What are we going to be doing in the near future? And to share some thoughts of how, working together, we can develop the tall ship races and regattas to be even more successful. I would like to share a sense of pride and enthusiasm that I think we all have for being a part of this unique and wonderful collaboration. A little bit about structure and who we are. As is common with most UK or many UK charities, the trading activities are conducted through a separate company, and that's all to do with UK charity law. For us, it's Tall Ship Races International Limited. We're the company that puts on the events, and we're responsible for them, and we develop the strategy in I suppose, tasked and reporting to the charity trustees. In terms of staff, TSRL employs a small and highly committed team of just 12 people based in Gosport, and as Gwyn mentioned earlier to me, 2 of those are part-time. And it's all under Gwyn's leadership as our Chief Executive Officer. Many of you know many members of the team. They work tirelessly throughout the year. They're highly committed, and they're trying to do their very best to put on successful tall ship races and regattas, and indeed this conference. In the last 6 months, we have 2 people who've joined that team. One is Vanessa Mori, who's joined as the commercial director, and the second is Mandeep Shankar, who has joined as our head of marketing, and they replace Sally and Paul, who decided to go and sail around the world for 3 years. But we're delighted with Vanessa and Mandeep joining us. In addition, I think as Jonathan just mentioned, we have a board of directors made up of 9 directors with a whole range of maritime, sail training, event experience, and their job is to help guide the overall company. We're the group that ultimately are deciding where the races are going to go. We're responsible for the conduct of the races and for identifying ways in which we can make them better. Apart from Gwyn Brown, all of the directors are part-time, we're unpaid, and we're volunteers. I'm delighted that in the last 2 months, we have 2 new directors who've joined us. One is Einar Corwin, who many of you will know. Einar is from Norway. He has been a trustee for some years, and until recently, he was the director for Christian Radich. Magda Moaska, who has joined from Poland. She's been involved in our events for many years as a member of the Youth Council, as a volunteer on race teams, and even as a winning skipper herself. Her first face-to-face board meeting was yesterday, and it was a great contribution. And I kind of say a little bit flippantly, she is the first lady to join the board, so we have a long way to go, and we will. But she also managed to reduce the average age of the board by 5 years just by joining us. We operate the board on a rotation basis. The trustees are going to be selecting several new board members next year and to fill some specific skill gaps that we've identified. In particular, as I just alluded, we're trying to build some greater diversity, and it's, I'm afraid, an unpaid volunteer position, and it takes about 10 to 20 days per year. We too are looking for new directors, so we'll post some information on the website in the new year. If any of you have the skills we're looking for, the time and the interest, please let us know. Finally on this, as many of you know, we couldn't put on the races and regattas without all of the volunteers who give their time freely, either in one of the supporting committees or councils, or as part of the race team. And again, if anybody here is interested in becoming part of that, please let us know. We have been looking at, as one leg of the strategy, what we should be doing with events. And so we've developed our mission statement, which is really totally consistent with the charity, though it has a focus just on how we can help young people develop and international friendship with the vehicle of the tall ship races and regattas. One slight difference is, we need to make a surplus because we're the primary funding for everything that the charity does. So everything and anything we make financially, we gift each year to the charity to fund things like subsidising this conference, the bursaries we give, the research projects that are done. That's the money primarily for the charity is coming from our events. Let me move on to this year and do a quick recap. We ran 3 events. We started the year with the 3 festivals, Tall Ships Regatta. It commenced at the end of May and involved Liverpool, Dublin and Bordeaux, and there was a race between each city. We then, in the summer, followed that from mid-July to early August with the Tall Ship Races 2018, starting in Sunderland in the UK, racing over to Esbjerg in Denmark, followed by a cruising company up to Stavanger in Norway, and then a second final race down to Harlingen in the Netherlands. Our final event for the year was certainly a new sea area for us, and that was the SCF Far East Tall Ship Regatta, commencing in Yaosu in South Korea at the end of August and racing up to Vladivostok. We had a lot of fun, and I'd like to just show you some highlights. So, it was good fun and a hard work. As you saw, or counted, we went to 9 ports in 8 countries. From a trainee point of view, and trainees and crew, 6,000 people took part from 60 countries, and just roughly half of those people were under 26. It involved 83 sailing vessels across all those different events from 22 countries. We had just under 4 million visitors, and so we are pleased with those that level. From a financial performance perspective, at STI we benefited very significantly from sponsorship from Sovcomflot for the Far East race. I'm afraid to say that despite that, we still made a small loss at the trading level, and at least last year weren't able to provide a surplus to the charity. That was largely due to some changes in our accounting policies and practices that we made. We'd got a little bit ahead of ourselves in recording future income on our long-term contracts. That should wash out over the next couple of years, and we'll be back onto an even keel. At the end of the day, it's all about trainees. Without trainees, there wouldn't be ships. Without ships, there wouldn't be races, and there wouldn't be port festivals. And it is incredibly rewarding to sit back and read or hear the feedback from the young trainees and to just see the impact that they think it's had on their lives. Here are a few quotes. Moving on to the future, let me share some of the exciting events that we've coming up and are currently working on. Practically all of the ports that are involved in these events are here at the conference, and I'm sure if you're interested, they would be delighted to talk to you. There are individual sessions on the conference agenda going into each of these in more detail, so I'll cover them at quite a high level. First of all, we have the Liberty 75 Regatta. This event celebrates 75 years since D-Day. The regatta will start in June and follow on from the Armada Rouen Festival in France and end the first race just off Scheveningen in the Netherlands. There will then be a second race towards Aalborg in Denmark, connecting those vessels that would like to continue on towards the summer races. That's going to be followed by the biggest event for us of next year, which is the tall ship races, starting at the beginning of July in Aalborg, with the first race across to Fredrikstad in Norway. This will be followed by a cruising company to Bergen in Norway, and then ended with a second race down to Aarhus back in Denmark. Towards the end of the year, we're hoping to be able to run a regatta in the Black Sea again. We're not able to confirm this event for definite at the moment, as the event is very dependent on obtaining a sponsor, and our discussions of that are ongoing. We expect to have the answer to that in the next week or so, and then we'll know either way if we're going to be able to have that event. Moving into 2020, we're delighted to be returning to the Iberian Peninsula for the summer tall ship races. The race will form part of the 500-year celebration of Magellan's circumnavigation that we just heard something about. The race is going to start in Lisbon at the beginning of July, race down to Cadiz, and then there will be a short race out of Cadiz, followed by a cruising company up to A Coruña, and the final race will be from A Coruña to Dunkirk, finishing at the end of the first week in August. Following the successful regatta in the Far East this year, with the support of SCF, our sponsor, we plan to hold a second regatta in that part of the world in 2020. We will choose the ports over the coming months. We received some very positive feedback this year, and we've had expressions of interest from cities in China and Japan, as well as our anchor port in Vladivostok. And we have a signed sponsor contract for that, so that one will be happening. In 2021, we will be returning to the Baltic for the tall ship races. The fleet will assemble in Klaipėda at the end of June and race up to St. Petersburg. From there, the fleet will cruise in company to Tallinn. There'll be a second race from Tallinn to Mariehamn in the Åland Islands, and then a final race down to Szczecin, ending at the start of August. I quite like the artistic impression of the race from Tallinn to Mariehamn. I think we're predicting quite a big wind shift. For the tall ship races 2022, at the conference last year, we announced that we had chosen the North Sea as the sea area for the race. We're in the process of selecting the host ports. We plan to announce the ports and the race routes by the end of May next year, and possibly a little bit earlier. For 2023, we're at the start of our process for that. Yesterday at our board meeting, we chose the sea area for that, which will be Northwest Europe, and we'll be opening that and sending out our information around April, May next year to start the process of inviting bids. Let me now move on to the leg of the strategy that we're responsible for in Tall Ship Races International, which is in the context of the charity, what is it that we should be doing for our events? We started looking at this last spring, and we plan to conclude this by the end of March at our next spring meeting. So far, we have reached the stage where we've got some stakes in the ground as to our overall direction, and we're now looking at how to fill out the specifics. So more specifically, what is it we can do to make the events better, and when can we do them, and how will we achieve that? It's clear that many things are changing in the world for us, and for everybody here, I guess. All of our stakeholders are impacted. Everybody here has more choice of what they do, how they spend their time, how you spend your money, as with trainees and everybody our events really touch. There are some significant challenges from this. Costs involved in sail training and putting on tall ships events have increased for everybody involved. We all face far more competition. Security demands are higher. Social media has made a significant impact on how we all communicate, how we make decisions, especially how young people make some of their choices. On the other hand, we see an even greater need and opportunity for what we do, opportunity to help young people to develop, opportunity to bring people together from all around the world in a spirit of international friendship. We continue to believe tall ships events have a significant role to play in this, but we realise we will all need to work hard to succeed at this. We'll need to innovate. We need to try some new things. There are some old things that we're going to need to discard. From an overall perspective, we intend to keep our major focus on the summer tall ship races. It's the time when most young people are available to participate. Where possible, we intend to organise tall ship races that involve 5 ports, and this will enable us to attract a higher number of young people. As regards our smaller events, the tall ship regattas, we plan to be more focused, recognising these usually occur outside of the holiday period when there are fewer young trainees available. we would only envisage doing one regatta a year, and doing that where there's very clear and strong demand from the vessels to participate and where the economics are attractive for all our stakeholders. This almost certainly means that regattas will only happen where we have a major sponsor, as we did with SCF this past year and with Ronde Naval in 2017. More generally, from an economics perspective, and perhaps simplifying it somewhat, our events break even based on the host port fees that we receive, but we rely on sponsorship, in effect, to provide a surplus from our events to support the charity and the broader activities that the charity undertakes. So for us, attracting a sponsor or sponsorship is going to remain a major strategic area. So as we continue to develop and execute our strategy, we need to make sure that our events continue to be world-class. We're looking at practical ways we can improve our events for the benefit of all of our stakeholders. We want to increase the appeal of sail training and our tourship events to young trainees. We want to find ways of making our events better for the vessels, better for our host cities, better for the national sail training organisations, better for our sponsors, better for the publics, and better for the trainees. Money is clearly one critical area, and we'd like to find ways that any unnecessary costs in what we do can be eliminated, and to find ways in which revenue streams can be increased for the benefit of all our stakeholders. As I mentioned, sponsorship is vital and is part of the answer to that, but we also think that we need to find additional revenue streams that we can share. In developing our plans of new things to try, we recognise we've got really limited resources. As I mentioned, we've 12 employees in the office, and they're working hard preparing for all the future events that I've just been through. Many of the more significant changes that we might make will take time, as they require us to change our contracts, and we can only do that as and when we're signing new contracts. I am personally quite sure that the key to success is for us all to work together on this. We have some ideas on how we can improve our events, which we're looking at, but we certainly don't have all the answers. We invite you, if you have any ideas or suggestions, please tell us either directly or through one of the advisory forums, the Ships Council, the Youth Council, the International Council, the Port Advisory Group. We've started the process of some of that today with collecting input from the Ships Forum and the Youth Council. We'll be meeting with the Port Advisory Group tomorrow, and I look forward to being able to report back our progress on that in the coming year. Before I end, I just want to show you a short video clip that I think encapsulates the spirit of fun and international friendship. We were delighted that the Indian naval sail training vessel Tarangini undertook such a long voyage to participate in a number of our events this year. In Stavanger, they won a prize for the vessel that had come the furthest, and this is how they accepted their prize. So let me end by wishing you all a very useful and enjoyable conference. Thank you.
Back up to more human height. Right, now the next thing we're going to do is practice that dance, okay? So throughout the conference, I expect to see you having a quick private session of practicing, because for the gala dinner, everybody is going to do that dance, okay? So that's it for the closing, for the opening plenary. Wishing my days away already. Now we need to head up 2 floors to the welcome reception, where we can all enjoy the hospitality of the Tall Ships Races 2019 ports and start networking, getting to see old friends, make some new friends, and generally I hope have a very valuable conference. So thank you very much for coming to Seville, and look forward to talking to many of you over the next few days. Thank you.